Hey everyone, Randy here for Go Midwest Fishing. Hey, thanks for watching today. I got a special video. I was just at the 2019 Sportsman show in St. Paul, Minnesota. They had some professional fishermen there giving some talks at a seminar. I sat in on the one Ted Takasaki. I think that's how you say his name. And he talked about the #1 technique for walleye anglers anywhere. I actually got a lot out of it, and I hope you will too. It's about 50 minutes long. I only captured the audio of this seminar, so I'll put some graphics up on the video there so you can get a better idea what he was talking about. Overall, he just stood at a podium and gave a speech, so not much to look at anyway. About the only thing he did show was his rig with the bottom bouncer and a night crawler rig attached to it. So not much to look at there. I made up a little mock one here with some high visibility lines so you can see the actual rig he was using. Alright, without further ado, here's Ted.
So just to prove a point again, she looks at Johnny and says, "Now come on, Johnny. If I told you that on the way to school this morning there was a 1,000-pound grizzly bear standing right there just in front of me ready to eat me, when this little yellow 8-pound dog comes flying out of the bushes, grabs that bear by the nose, flips him back and forth and breaks his neck, would you believe me?" Johnny looked her right in the eye and says, "You betcha, ma'am. That's my dog." Now, Johnny might be a little bit exuberant, kind of embellishing a little bit, but he's got a positive mental attitude, right? And that's what we need when we get out in the water. Anytime we look at that big body of water like the Lacs or Lake of the Woods or Rainy Lake, all those lakes, it looks just like the same, one two-dimensional plane of water, right? Where do you even start? And what do you do once you get out there? So what I'd like to do is talk about a technique that I have found catches walleye from Wyoming to New York, down to Arkansas, and everything in between. There isn't a body of water that I've not caught a walleye with this particular rig. And I really want to get into it in pretty good detail so that you have a lot of information at your fingertips to be able to try it this coming summer. And if there's anything I'd like you to think about, pick up on just one or two little tips that you promised me that you're going to use this summer, and I guarantee you, you're going to catch more fish this summer. Okay? So, first thing I wanted to talk about is the #1 technique that I believe, that there was one lure that I would take across the country to catch walleye, would be this one right here. If they said you can only have one lure, I'd have a bottom bouncer and a spinner with a dozen neck crawlers, maybe more than a dozen. So this particular lure is just tremendous in all different bodies of water, from reservoirs to rivers to natural lakes. What we have in Minnesota are a lot of natural lakes, and I believe that until I started using this rig, in fact, I didn't think in Minnesota you could really use this rig. There's a lot of weeds, a lot of rocks. I thought, well, maybe at the beginning of my tournament fishing career, I didn't think that this rig would work in Minnesota. But since I have used this across the state of Minnesota and a lot of different lakes, I am now catching a lot of fish with this particular rig. So it's definitely worth trying in your particular lake that you like to fish. Is everybody from Minnesota? Maybe I better start with that. Where's everybody from? Minnesota? Okay, anybody out of state? Where from? Florida? Nice! We gotta get Charlotte, my fiance, is gonna talk to you guys. She wants to move back to Florida at some point in time. So that's awesome. Where else? Any place else? Oh, so mostly Minnesota. I like it. Where from? California. I was born there. I got out of that state. Just kidding. Anyway, it's just great to be here. I actually live now in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's a great city, great state. A lot of walleyes in the state of South Dakota, but obviously walleyes in Minnesota is a primary fish that a lot of people fish for. And so this particular rig, I call it it's a bottom bouncer with a spinner. Now there's a lot of variations, and I'll get into the variations in the back part of this presentation. But the first thing I want to talk about is, what is the most important part of this rig? Does anybody want to venture to guess? What's the most important part of this rig? Any, all right. The bottom mouncer. How did you hit that right away? You must have been in a seminar before, no? Yes, that's indeed the case. The bottom bouncer is the most important part of this rig because wherever the bottom bouncer goes, that's where this goes, and this is what catches the fish. All right? So, I'm going to start with that. The bottom bouncer. All right? What makes the bottom, and I do not know who invented this. I do not know, but it's been around for a long, long time. All right? There's no patents on it. Anybody can build one in their basement. Anyone can sell one anywhere they go. All right? But this little invention is the most ingenious invention that I've ever come across as far as a weight is concerned. I mean, what's neat about this particular weight, as you drag it along the bottom, it slides across, it spaces that spinner just a few inches off the bottom as you're moving it across. All right, see how that, and relatively snag resistant. All those great qualities in this bottom bouncer makes it an excellent, excellent weight for dragging these spinners. And what's nice about it is once you set the bottom, anybody can catch fish. You just set the bottom, you put it in a rod holder, it's catching fish as you move along. And then, you know, for kids, you know, you just tell them, hey, there's a fish on there. They grab it out of the rod holder and they reel it in. Very, very simple. Easy to fish. All right? So, the bottom bouncer. What I like in a good bottom bouncer is heavy duty wire. If you can sit there and if the wire doesn't offer much resistance, you know, or it flops when you put it on the table, real easy. All right? This is a pretty good one right here. It's got a pretty good, pretty stout wire system. That makes it a good bottom bouncer. I want that bottom bouncer from the circle down to the tip, anywhere from about 10 to 12 inches. Okay. Next thing is the closed loop on the top. I like that closed loop. You can see where I've attached that little snap or a snap swivel to that closed loop, and it works really well. In fact, I bet you in Florida you can catch a lot of fish on a little device like this, but just by dragging it around. Now you might have to use stainless steel wire though, because this wire might rust down on salt water. But anyway, so the circle, and then these weights come in a wide variety of different weights. So you get 1 ounce, 1.5, 2, 3 ounce, and maybe even 4 ounce if you're lucky. The heaviest that I've seen is a 4 ounce. All right. Now, what you want to do, and here this is the next most important thing, is as you drop that sinker down and you're trolling along at about 1 to 1.5 mile an hour, you want that line angle from the rod tip down into the water. As it goes into the water, I want it at a 45-degree line angle. Okay? Can you see that angle? About 45 degrees from the rod tip entering the water. What that does, that allows that bottom bouncer to work efficiently. If it's down here like this, if you've got a real flat angle to the water, what that means is that bottom bouncer stands more of a chance of getting hung up on stuff because it's not really at the right angle. If you've got it at this angle, you'll be able to work right along all the little rocks and trees and that type of thing on the bottom. Okay? And you know why fish like snags? Does anybody here like snags? No, I don't have one. There's not one hand that goes up. But I love snags. Guess where all the fish are at? In the snags, right? In the rocks, in the cover, right? And so this little sinker will get you through a lot of cover and a lot of snags to get to the fish. Now, I think maybe I'm going to take a little bit of a break from this rig and talk about fish location. Because, you know, when we talk about all the snags, the rocks, the trees, and the sand and everything else, we need to understand where these fish are and why they're in those snags, okay? So, first thing walleyes like is that they like food. Everybody here like food? Right. Yep. Yeah, think about what a walleye thinks about when he gets up in the morning. For breakfast, right? They want to eat, right? What do they think about at noontime? Lunch. What do they think about at 6 o'clock? Dinner. And then the process starts all over. They really don't have a whole lot to do other than eat. You know, they can't go to a sports show, they can't go to a movie, right? They're looking to eat. So we need to fish where their food is. And where is their food? In the snags, in the cover, all right? In the treetops, you know. They don't like to just swim out in the minnow. Think about if you were a minnow. What would you do if you're a minnow swimming around in a lake full of walleyes? Wouldn't you try to hide? You wouldn't last very long swimming all by yourself out in the middle of the lake, right? That's why they swim around in big packs, right? So they make themselves look bigger. So what we want to do is we want to find these kind of structural elements. Now, the bottom structure. Let's talk about structure a little bit, all right? Structure is the bottom. It's the rocks, the sand, and the gravel. So let's say this is a point that comes up on the bottom. You know, you got about 10 or 15 feet above that point. For water depth, this comes up from 20 to 15, back down to 20 again, all right? Now, let's think about this. Where do the minnows kind of hang out on a piece of structure like this? Okay, let's do a little experiment for you, and you might even want to do this yourself in your basement or in your garage. Take a Rubbermaid tote, right? Just your standard Rubbermaid tote where you store all your stuff in, right? And then you close it up, you put it in the top rack of your garage, and never look at it for 15 years. Those kind of totes I'm talking about, right? So you take a little tote, you fill it up with water. Take a scoop of minnows from your bait store, put it right down in that tote, and then observe what the minnows are doing. Where do you think they're going to go? One of the corners. Right? Typically, that's where they're going to go. It's in the corners because it'd be like a dishpan lake that's got no structure on it. Right? They would actually, if you put a small little rock in the middle of that tote, where would the minnows hang on now? Right around that little rock. Right? Especially if that rock was flat and had some crevices underneath it, they'd be underneath those crevices. You wouldn't be able to see some of them. Now, you can even get crazy with this. Put a little sand down at the bottom. All right? Make a little point with some rocks and some gravel. All right? Go to the aquarium. Go to the pet store. Get some aquarium plants. Put some plants down there. Sink it down there. Put it at the tip of the point. See if there's a lot of minnows that hang around on the tip of the point. Now you can visually see what these fish are doing and why they do it. They hang around that kind of stuff. They like the combination of structure, the bottom, and cover, which is anything that grows on it or lays on top of it. And if anybody tells you different, you can argue with them and tell them I said so. All right? Because that's what it is. This is structure. Structure is the bottom. Cover is anything that lays or grows on top of it. So what's a dock? What would a dock be considered? Cover. Exactly. Weeds. Cover. Rotten. Structure. Okay? That's the difference. The combination of structure and cover concentrates fish. And if you can remember that, that'll give you a head start. Because in your lake that you're fishing, that's what you want to fish. You do not want to fish out in the middle of nowhere. You want to fish where there's structure and cover, because that's what's going to concentrate the minnows, and that's why the walleyes are there. Right? Now, let's say this is a point that comes out from the shoreline, right? Comes right here. What's this considered right inside here? Inside turn, right? That would be like that tub where the minnows are hanging on those corners. This would be your inside turn. That's why inside, a lot of people overlook the inside turns of points. They go right out to the tip, right? But they don't fish these inside turns. Really good spot for walleyes, because that's where a lot of minnows hang as well. Now, the most prominent spot on any lake is the typical point. If a walleye is very aggressive, very hungry, and wants to eat, this is probably the #1 spot. I'm just saying don't overlook the inside turns. In fact, if I'm going to work a point like this, I'm going to come from the shoreline, I'm going to work that rig, up shallow, back down deep, up shallow, back down deep. I'm going to come across this point. drag that rig across that point, and you turn back around, come back this way, deep, shallow, and then around that inside turn. Now I feel like I've covered that point pretty good. I'm always looking at my electronics as well. If my electronics don't show me any fish, I typically don't make another pass. I'm off to the next point. Now, has anybody fished the like Lake Walleye or Francis Case or any of the Missouri River reservoirs in South and North Dakota? No? Okay, a few. So, in those reservoirs, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of points, just like I described here. And they can be in any one of those points. So the more points that I can fish in a day, or at least draft, I might not even fish that point. In fact, I would recommend that if you're fishing on Leech Lake, anybody fish Leech Lake? Right? If you're fishing on Leech Lake, that'd be a good thing to do. Just go to the point, come around from 10 feet down to 20, go up and down, look for some fish. If you mark a few fish, put a waypoint on that, and come back and can fish them. A lot faster at 3, 4, 5 mile an hour to look for fish and then fish, rather than to fish at first and find out that there's no fish on the point. That's the one thing I do know for sure, that I can make a definitive statement, that you cannot catch fish where there's no fish. Is that a good one? Right? And that's true. Right? So we're looking for fish. We don't fish until we mark fish. We don't have a lot of confidence until we mark fish. So rely upon your electronics. I mean, we've got technology today. It is absolutely amazing. Incredible technology today. The technology we have draws an outline of the lake, gives us all the contours, gives us all the points, the inside turns, a little hump in the middle of the lake. We can go right to those spots and fish them. We don't have to drive around looking for them. We drive right to those spots. I can drive right to the tip of any point on any of these Minnesota lakes and start fishing effectively right away. I can find spots that it took Al and Ron Linder 30 years to find, and I can find them in one day. Not even one day, about 15 minutes. And that's sad. You know? And then this down imaging. We've got down imaging sonar that allows us to almost see these fish and the kind of fish they are. It's so precise. It's so detailed, the pictures nowadays. It's really, really, truly amazing. In fact, it's so amazing the fish don't even stand a chance. Did I hear something over there? Of course, you know, I mean, we still got to catch them. We still got to find them. We still got to catch them. You know, they're living critters. They move every day. They change their preferences. All right? That's why I like the troll. I do like the troll. And this bottom bouncer is a combination of a little bit of trolling, a little bit of moving, along with the flash vibration of the spinner, and then live bait. I've got it all. It's not like trolling crankbaits, because that's artificial only, you know. I mean, not that you can't catch them with crankbaits. I've got a lot of fish with crankbaits. But this technique right here has truly caught me a lot of fish. All right. Any questions on structure, cover, where the fish might be? Electronics? Any electronics questions? Be glad to give you. Okay. All right. So we got the bottom bouncer. Now let's talk a little bit about the rig itself. This is a standard spinner, crawler harness it's called, right? It consists of monofilament of some sort, usually fluorocarbon, all right? If you're tying your own spinners, I use fluorocarbon, about 12-pound test fluorocarbon. I would probably start with a little bit longer lead, probably about 5 feet, right, as far as the lead. And then if you're in real snaky conditions, I start cutting that down to 4 feet, 3.5, maybe even 3 foot. Right, if I'm in real snaky conditions. Because guess what? The longer that is, it'll drag the bottom as you're dragging this bottom bouncer. The shorter that lead is, it's closer to the bottom bouncer. It's closer to the bottom bouncer. So let's kind of get this up. It's closer to the bottom bouncer. It doesn't have as much chance to drop. You understand? Okay? And the reason, one of the big reasons why I said that, you know, the bottom bouncer is the most important part of this rig, wherever the rig goes, this goes. right? So that's what's nice about it. Now, in general, I would use a 1 ounce weight in 10 feet of water. 2 ounce weight from 20, say 15 to 25 feet of water. A 3 ounce weight, 25 to 35 feet of water. That's kind of the general range of weights that I would use. I put a snap up here, and then it's got a snap swivel on the back and the bottom of it. So if I want to change weight real quick, I snap the top, snap the back, and then I can change the weight, the bottom ounce size real quickly. That's why I put a snap up here. That's why I have a snap swivel in the back of the bottom ounce. Almost every bottom ounce has got the snap swivel, but most people tie directly to the bottom ounce. What I suggest you do is just tie a little snap or a little snap swivel up here. And now you can take this off real quick. Change weights. If you want to fish a little bit deeper, let's say you get out in the deep water, you make a turn and come back on the tip of the point, all of a sudden you see fish down in 30 feet of water instead of 15 or 10. Then I'd start working a little bit deeper, a little bit heavier bottom up. Again, try to maintain that 45-degree line to the water. Now, you got your lead. This is the spinner right here. Can everybody see this okay? You got the spinner right here, and most of the spinners these days have a little clevis, all right? A little clevis where it allows you to change the blade real quickly. Okay? So if light conditions change on you during the day, let's say if some clouds come in and all of a sudden it gets dark, maybe their light preference or their color preference is going to change a little bit. Right? Anybody believe color makes a big difference? Sure. After you've considered location, right? The speed and the action that you put on the type of lure that you're using, and then color. And then after that would be sound or scent, a lot of other factors, you know, when it comes to catching fish. But remember what I just said? Location, right? Number one thing you think about when you get on the water is location, right? Then it would be the speed that you're going to work. So the speed of this rig right here is typically about 1.5 miles an hour. But all I do is I just drop this in the water, set my electric trolling motor, and then I watch that spinner. That spinner will go like this as I speed up, and as it speeds up, it will go like that, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. All right? That's when I stop. Not stop, but that's the speed I want to troll at. So typically about 1.5 miles an hour it's going to be. All right? Some of the smaller blades will go slower. Some of the bigger blades take a little bit more speed. Right? But just drop it right next to the boat, ramp up your speed, and then see how fast it takes to get that spinner spinning, and that's the perfect speed. Now, if you're out there trolling, and all of a sudden, you know, you see that line angle getting way back out there, right, real flat, that means you got too light of a bottom ouncer or you're going too fast. One of the two. If all of a sudden you look at it and straight up and down, you're going too slow or you have too heavy of a bottom ouncer. Pretty simple. Okay. Try to keep that 45-degree line angle. Now, this rig is always designed to keep tapping. What I'm always doing is I'm moving along and feeling the bottom. Tap, tap. Now once I've got it set, I can put it in a bottom bouncer, but I'm always taking that out of the rod holder I'm at. When I put it in the rod holder, I'm always checking it. You know, make sure, I just drop it back, boom, should bounce on the bottom. Now, how do you set this? I'm sure that's what you're thinking, right? How do you set the bottom? What I'll do is I'll open up the bail as I'm moving along. Once I set the speed, I'm moving along that piece of structure. I open up the bail, boom. When it hits, I put my thumb on the spool. I'm continuing to move forward, right? Continue to move forward. All right, what'll happen, this will lift off the bottom a little bit. And then I just drop it again. And then once it hits the second time, I click it in. You set the bottom perfectly. I call that the two bounce method. It's a great way to just, if you're working these bottom bouncers, 2 bounces, click it in. You should be able to just keep tapping the bottom as you move along, right? If you're working along a piece of structure, just keep working back. Hit the bottom every once in a while. Okay. What does that do too? When you're dropping it back, tapping bottom, what does it do? You drop it, all right, and then you pull it. What does that do to the bait? Lets it drop and speeds up. Drop, speed up. Change in speed and direction is a critical element to catching any fish. The more you can change your speed and your direction, you're going to induce more strikes. Right? So coming down here, coming back up, coming back down, coming back up, what does that do? All right, I got a rod on this side of the boat, a rod on the other side of the boat. When you turn this way, what does this do? Speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. Okay? I had a dog once. His name was Lindy. Since I was the president of Lindy Fish and Tackle, I thought I'd name the dog Lindy, right? He was a great little dog. Right? He had a game that we used to play. I'd put a little piece of yarn, a little piece of red yarn on the tip of a rod. I'd take it out of the closet, and I mean, you should have seen that dog. His ears would perk up. He was so excited he couldn't stand it, I make a little cast across the living room, and he's on that little piece of yarn. All right? His nose is this far from the end of it. I'd reel that piece of yarn. Right? So I just reel it real slow. Right? That dog's he's just following that little piece of yarn this close. I mean, literally this close. Right? And then as I come like that, and all I had to do is go little sachet, just a thump thump, like that little snake motion, that little yarn would go like that. Boom! He was on that piece of yarn, the fight's on, man. I mean, he's taking drag across the living room. I reel him back in, and he'd take off again down the hallway, and I'd reel him back in this way. It was great practice for the off season. Right? Set my drag just right for 10-pound dog. But anyway, so what I learned from that, though, I can watch it, but it wasn't just a sachet. I could also go like that real slow, and I go pump pump. I'll let him do something like that. Boom, he'd be on. It was just interesting to be able to visualize and see how these animals in the wild, he's not a wild critter, but he's still an animal, and how he reacts to the little change in speed and direction. Okay? So I suggest that you do that in any of your kind of fishing, all right? Whether you're casting crankbaits or jig fishing, change the action up on while you're jigging, or change the action of the reel. How many of you, when you're throwing or casting crankbaits, you throw that crankbait out and reel, throw the crankbait out and reel, throw the crankbait out and reel? How many? Who all does that? Right, we all have done that. What I want you to think about the next time you're out there doing that, try something different. Right? When you throw that crankbait out and it hits the water, take that rod tip and go bump, bump, and then reel up the slack. Right? You're going to catch a lot of fish right off the bat. You throw it out there, boom, boom, boom. I've caught so many fish doing that. Right? The next thing is you throw it out there, bump, bump, you reel it in, all right? Maybe go slow, and then speed up, go slow, speed up. And then as that crankbait gets in toward the boat, you can see the line come out here, coming down to here. Then right before, you just go, just give that rod tip one little quick twitch, like that, let it sit for a split second, and then reel it in. Have you ever thrown the crankbait out and bring it into the boat, lift it out of the water, and there's that walleye looking at you? Right? We all had it happen. Not just walleye, but a whole bunch of other kinds of species of fish, right? So what I'm saying, you rip that crankbait right at the end of your cast and let it sit there for a split second. that fish would hit. I guarantee you that fish would hit. And if you catch one more fish in a day or two more fish in a day that you wouldn't have caught, you know, maybe you'd win a tournament. Or maybe you caught the biggest fish of the day and wanted a buck, you know. Either way, you know, you're still catching more fish. You know, you add up 2 more fish over the course of a year, 30 trips, 60 fish. You know, I mean, that's... Does anybody go fishing and just like to just go fishing and not catch anything? No. We want to catch fish if we're going to go fishing, right? So 1 or 2 fish a day, or maybe even 3 or 4, it all adds up. I know for me, when I'm competing for thousands and thousands of dollars, sometimes one little itty-bitty fish makes a big, big difference. Of course, in the case of one time, I was in 4th place, 0.02 pounds from first, and I made about $12,000 less for 0.02 pounds. $12,000. Anybody feel good about that? You know, it's kind of, I was fishing the championship. The first $100,000 payoff walleye history, I won that tournament, and I was jigging in a small little shallow area. Okay, jigging them out. I was jigging, got that bite, I'm bringing them up, all right? And as I'm really, you know, in a small little shallow area, they really dig down hard, you know. I mean, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's gonna get in something, a tree or something. So I'm really trying to get him out of the trees, working him through around the boat, all right? My net man was there ready, all right? He had the net down, I said, get him, and bang, all of a sudden the jig comes swinging right by my ear. No! I mean, I needed one more fish on the last day of the tournament. All I could think about was dollar bills with little wings flying out of the boat, right? So ding, the jig comes past my ear, and I'm looking down, oh no, and then he lifts up, and there's a fish in the bottom of the net. Perfect. Won me the tournament. You know, just one little fish sometimes, you know, and I know in a lot of the tournaments that I'm fishing, just catching a limit. You know, walleyes are not an easy species of fish to catch, right? They're hard to catch, you know. I mean, just catching a limit every day at every tournament that I've ever fished in my entire life, I'd probably be $150,000 richer. That's all we need to do. That's all as a professional. I just have to catch a limit every day, and I can't catch a limit every single day. It's tough. They're tough fish to catch. They aren't very aggressive. They got a strike zone about this big, right? They're a lot. I think they're the thinking man's fish. You know, only intelligent people fish for walleyes. All the smart people that are in this room, right? You know, I mean, anybody can catch a bass. They got a big strike zone. They got big mouths. They don't have hard jaws. They don't even have teeth. What's great about walleyes, I love them. They got teeth, they're smart, they're wily, they aren't very aggressive, they're hard to catch, but when you do catch them, it's time to get excited, right? Okay. Another thing I like to think about, remember what you did right before you caught that fish, right? Remember what you did right before you got that bite and caught that first walleye. That first walleye is incredibly important. Okay, he's telling you that the fish are there. They still want what you were giving them earlier during practice, right? Or let's say you caught them by, anybody here catch a fish by accident? Right? When you catch that fish by accident, remember what you did right before you got them, right? That's important, all right? It's kind of like when I took my daughter off fishing many years ago. She's 30 years old now and a vet. But now, you know, back then, you know, she was just a 10-year-old Christy, right? A little kid, you know, very impressionable at that age. And they say that if you don't take a kid fishing by the age of 10, they usually don't fish as they get to be an adult. Okay, so take those kids fishing. How many of you take the kids fishing? Perfect. How many of you take your grandkids fishing? That's even better. How many take your neighbor's kids fishing? That's incredible. That's awesome. Grab the kid off the street. Right? Now, somebody might have something to say about that if it's gone too long, but what the heck? Take those kids fishing. You know, when you do take the kids fishing, remember that that day is for the kids, right? For the kids. You know, you're not going to get the fish that day, I'm sorry to tell you, right? You're going to be taking fish off, baiting hooks, detangling lines, right? Taking care of the fish, right? So make sure it's enjoyable for the kids, okay? I mean, it's their day, right? You know, because if they don't have a good time, they're not going to come back. They won't want to fish again if they get yelled at, you know? Just let them do whatever they want, right? If they want to play in the live well, let them look at the fish in the live well. If they want to play with the bait, my daughter used to take a stick in the leech bucket and train the leeches to jump over the stick. I didn't mind, you know, I mean, she can do whatever she wanted, you know. So anyway, this one, it takes a lot of food, by the way, right? Kids love food, bring a lot of food. Maybe not a lot of caffeinated drinks or Red Bull. So take a lot of food and let them have a good time. Well, anyway, on this day that I took Christy out fishing, okay, it was a beautiful day. It was in the springtime, just a little bit after opening on Leech Lake. Anybody fish Leech Lake, right? Okay, great walleye lake in the springtime. Jig fishing and shiners. You snap the jig, you're working on the points. You might drag, the wind might blow the boat over and you just snap as you're drifting. Or you might take the electric trolling motor and work the edges and then snap it as you're moving the trolling motor. Okay? Well, that particular day with Christy, we go to the first point, no fish. Second point, no fish. Third point, no fish. By about the fourth point, I could tell her she was getting a little bit antsy. Dad, you're the pro. Why aren't we catching any fish? Right? I mean, I don't know, any professional anglers in here, you know how that pressure is? I mean, there's a lot of pressure being a professional fisherman. I mean, I'm in a tournament, I can't come to the weigh-in with no fish. I mean, that's $1,500, maybe $2,000, $3,000. I can't come to the weigh-in with no fish. If I take Dennis Anderson from the Star Tribune newspaper and he's in the boat, you know, just writing notes away, it's a beautiful day today, but Dad hasn't caught one fish. That goes in the newspaper, that doesn't look good either. Right? Or a television crew, you know, when I'm out shooting a television show. Yeah. Right? That's tough to do. I don't know, fish, they hate cameras. I don't know what it is. Well, the worst pressure is when your daughter's in the boat, you know, I mean, she's saying, Dad, why aren't we catching anything? You're the pro. You know? So the thing is, on that day, I told her, okay, don't worry, we're going to catch them. We're going to keep moving around, we're going to keep working on these fish. I know we're going to catch them before the end of the day. All right? So that day got to be about noon. All right, time to have lunch. Right? So distraction is the best medicine. Right? Distract them. All right, so let's have lunch. So I anchored up on this point. Wind's blowing in on the point a little bit, and certainly on any of these Minnesota lakes, wind blown side, unless it's a hurricane. If it's a hurricane, you can fish the leeward side, but always make sure there's a little bit of wind blowing in on that point. Okay? So wind blowing in, we anchor the boat, all right? Christy drops the jig down to the bottom. She sits on her rod, she leans over, takes a bite out of her sandwich. I'm looking at her rod, bent over. Boom, boom. Christy, grab that fish. You got a fish on your rod. She looks over there, lifts up, 4-pound walleye. God, I was happy. You know, I mean, I was jumping up and down, we were high-fiving. Yeah, we got a fish. You know, I asked her, I said, well, what were you doing right before you caught the fish? She said, I was eating a sandwich. I said, eat another one. All right, someone to watch her this time. She drops the jig down to the bottom. She sits on her rod, leans over, takes another bite, boom, boom, boom. 2-pound walleye. Guess what we did the rest of the day? Ate sandwiches. You know, I mean, it's pretty simple. They did not want the jig moving, hopping, snapping, nothing. They wanted it sitting still in a rod holder, just sitting right on the bottom. And we would have caught them if we didn't take a break for lunch, you know? And then I went ahead, after that, we went to the point that we just got done fishing, we caught them. To the next one that we didn't catch anything, we caught them. I mean, the pattern was the key. The fish were there, they just didn't want it fast. Right? So our job is to give the fish everything we can possibly give them and let them pick it out what they want. Right? It's kind of like a buffet. You guys have buffets out there, right? Big smorgasbord full of a whole bunch of food, you know, all different shapes, colors, sizes. Right? Well, I got this buddy of mine. His name is 400 pounds of Schmidt. Right? You know how he got that nickname? His last name is Smith, and he's 400 pounds. 400 pounds of Smith, right? You should see him when he walks into a buffet. You know, I mean, he gets a glazed look on his eyes, right? His jaw kind of opens up a little bit. And then, you know, you ever seen a St. Bernard and they start drooling? That was 400 pounds of Smith, you know? And I mean, he has already got that buffet laid out. I'm gonna have 10 of these, 12 of these, 6 of these, 10 of that, you know, I mean, he's got it all laid out. And I mean, he goes at it like nobody I've ever seen before, you know? And that's what we wanna do with the fish. We wanna give them all different colors, all different actions, all right? And if you're in the same boat, you gotta have kind of the same type of presentation. So you can't have one person trolling crankbaits and another person jigging. So you probably have to have all jigging, you know, everybody working jigs, change in different colors though, and change in different type of live bait, right? So that's what we want to try to do. Give them a smorgasbord of things and let them pick out what they want. Okay. Does that make sense? Any questions at all? All right, awesome. Well, I'm going to kind of finish this part of it up. I kind of got a little sidetracked. That happens every once in a while, right? Okay, so the rig, and talk a little bit about the rig, right? I got the length, right? You've got a blade, beads, and 2 hooks for a crawler harness. More hooks for a crawler harness, single hook for a leech, right? Or minnow. Okay, you can run minnows and leeches. I like crawlers. I probably run crawlers 75% of the time. I think I can catch walleyes early, middle, and late with crawlers. I think leeches work better when the water temperature is above 50 degrees, minnows in the spring and in the fall. Okay. So 2 hook harness is for a crawler. Here's your blade. The blade is exchangeable, and it should hang just about the same distance as the number of beads. Right? A perfectly tied rig should have enough beads so that that blade doesn't cover the hooks up. Okay. Now on the hooks, with the crawler, I try to hook the front hook as close to the tip of the nose of that crawler as I can. So I'll throttle that crawler, hook them right to the very tip of the nose. The next hook goes right behind that little bare spot, you know, on the little ring on that night crawler, right? Just about right behind that collar, okay? There should be a little bit of a loop in the line. Not a loop in the crawler, right? A loop in the line, so when that crawler stretches out, and he's moving in the water, when you drop that right next to the boat, you're seeing it spin, the spinner spin. You want that crawler kind of, you know, nice and straight through the water. Okay. Any questions? Okay. All right. I already talked about how to set the bottom. Okay. Talked about working up and down that structure, tapping the bottom all the time. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about the rod. I want a real soft, moderate action rod. Okay. Should bend all the way throughout the rod. Right? You don't have to have a real expensive rod for this type of presentation. This is an Avid. It's one of the entry-level rod types that St. Croix has. Right? Bait caster works really well. I spool it up with 12 or 15 pound test super braid. Right? I like the super braid as my main line because it's thin diameter, cuts through the water. Right? And then if you do get this bottom bouncer hung up, usually I can get it out. If you get this hung up, usually I can get my bottom bouncer back. I might have to break the rig off, but I usually get the bottom bouncer back. So you usually get part of the rig back if you have super braid for your main line. Okay? Any questions? All right? I think, yes.
So, is this presentation more effective as the season progresses a little bit, less effective, opener and first few weeks?
You know,
Switch over to a spinner presentation.
I would say you could use this presentation. The question was, is it good early season, good middle season versus early or late? And I would say I caught fish, you know, even an opener with this particular presentation. Now, you might want to run a minnow and just a plain bead. Okay, you don't have to have the spinner on here. Okay, that's right. I didn't get a chance to talk about all the different variations of this rig. You don't have to just run a spinner or crawler lines. Right? You can take a plain hook, like there's a hook called the slow depth hook. Anybody heard of that? Anybody not heard of the slow depth? All right, you. Slow depth hook, I've used them a lot now. They kind of have a big wide bend to them and then a hook. Right? They're designed to run crawlers on them, but I just hook the minnow right through the lips with slow depth. I run crawlers on them and I run leeches as well. Right? So if I'm going to run a single hook, that's what I'm running, a slow depth hook, because then I can use it with a crawler, with a leech, or a minnow. And sometimes I'll put just a plain yellow bead in front of it. Sometimes I'll put a yellow bead and a little propeller on it. Sometimes I'll put a yellow bead or a smile blade. A smile blade kind of looks like a flying wedge. You know, usually a smaller wedge or a propeller in the spring, a little bit bigger smile blade in the summer. Okay, you can go with bigger blades in the summer. Okay, now color, as far as a generality, I'll use fluorescence when the water clarity is dirty or I got cloudy skies. Right? If I got clear bluebird skies and clear water, I'd probably go with a metallic blade. Right? But that's a general rule of thumb, remember? What did I say about the buffet? Way out of the buffet. If you got 4 guys in there, they all try different blades. Right? Because these walleyes, they won't listen very good. Right? They haven't attended one of my seminars yet. So I do not know, I can't tell them what they want. We have to take all that information in. So I start the day with 2 metallics and 2 fluorescents. Right? And then see what the fish want. Does that make sense? Okay, but I wouldn't hesitate to run this with just a plain bead and a slow depth, but early spring opener. You know, I mean, it's a variation of a slip sinker rig, only you're moving a little bit. You go slow too. You don't have to go 1.5 mile an hour if you don't have a blade or a spinner on there. You can go real slow to the bottom of it. And then all you do, instead of beating them, all you do when you get that bite, all right, let that rod load up, all right? And then that's why we're using a real soft, bendy rod, all right? So just kind of follow that fish back. You get the thump, and just let that fish, as you keep moving forward, let that rod kind of load up. And as soon as that rod goes, doop, doop, that's when you want to set the hook. Right? You don't have to use a slip sinker rig fishing for walleyes in the springtime. Okay? Since I've gone to this rig, I've fished the Lundmanian tournament. I fished it the last 11, 12 years, okay, since they had started it. In the beginning, I used to slip sinker rig the humps in July, thinking that they were up deep. I count was 14 inches, 15 inches, right? When I figured out that those fish, and I equate water tails with a lot of different Minnesota lakes, when I started just working this rig along the edges of these flats, along the edges of the weed lines and fishing the shallow parts of that lake, along the edges of the weed lines, I've had more top 10s. In fact, I had second this last year, third the year before that. I mean, you know, just a matter of time before I'm going to win one of these Lundmanian tournaments. The Lundmanian tournaments are fished by some of the best fishermen on Otter Tail Lake. They really fish the lake a lot. So this rig here, I'm confident that, you know, you can use it almost anywhere, just with a little bit of variation to it, you can catch a lot of fish. Right? Any questions? Yes.
Is there a time when it would make a difference using copolymer or regular, or not,
Fluorocarbon? Fluorocarbon lane?
yeah.
Yeah, right here. I would use fluorocarbon for this leader. No doubt.
It doesn't, one of them sink and like the monofilament floats?
Not enough. I mean, you know, if you put monofilament, have you ever done that? Monofilament and fluorocarbon? Well, monofilament doesn't just float to the top either. You know, it might sink a little slower than fluorocarbon. But what I like about fluorocarbon is that it's pretty invisible. You know, now you can use it. I use dark green monofilament. You know, you don't have to use fluorocarbon. You know, usually the fluorocarbon works pretty good in salt water when you have real thick. You know, if you're using 50, 80, 100-pound test line and it's about that thick, then fluorocarbon really works nice. It's got the same refractive index as water. That's why they use it. You know, so. Do the fish really, does a walleye see the line? You know, I use high-vis line when I'm jig fishing. Okay? I've got a jig fishing around right back here. You see this, if I was given a jigging seminar, which I do often, I'd see that line, a high-vis yellow. The reason I have high-vis yellow on my line is I want to see the line. When I'm jig fishing, I toss that jig out there, I want to see that line, because that jig's dropping, and as soon as that jig hits the bottom, what happens? The line goes, whoop, right? I lift up, drop it back down, a little slack. Lift up, drop it back down, a little slack. I want that jig right tight and near to the bottom, and I don't, if I can't see my line, it's hard to know that you're near or at the bottom, right? Can the walleye see this? I caught a lot of fish tied directly to the jig. It's a high-vis yellow, right? So can they see monofilament versus fluorocarbon? I really don't think so. It's kind of up here, really. You know, you think about colors. I mean, you know, does a walleye look at that and say, all right, I'm going to bite an orange versus a yellow? I don't think so. They don't make that decision quite that quick, right? They might be able to see yellow in a dirty or dingy, you know, kind of environment, you know, with clouds and it's dark. Maybe they can see yellow. It has been proven that walleyes can see yellow, chartreuse yellow, the best under all different conditions based upon their eye construction, right? But I don't know. You know, I mean, I was the president of Lindy Fishing Tackle for 10 years, right? We made a lot of different colors of every single lure. You know, we carried 8 times the inventory we really had to. But why did we do it? You know, it's not to catch fish, it's to catch a fisherman. Right? I mean, you know, a lot of times you look at all those pretty little packages on the page, you know, you might, oh geez, this one looks like it's gonna catch a fish, right? We don't know for sure until we try it. I think it's important to put all different colors out and then let the fish start telling you. That's, you know, and then me as a professional angler, I can't just buy one lure with one color, right? I gotta have all the colors and at least 4 of each color, okay? So my tackle box, instead of being this big, is about big as a garage, right? That's Charlotte, she knows. So colors, you know, I mean, I'd like to tell you that there's any one color. The color isn't that important. It is, but in the scheme of things, I think it's still more important to be where the fish are and giving them the action that they want. I've caught a lot of fish on lead color, unpainted lead head jigs. We've done really well. You know, I got 3rd in the tournament, just unpainted lead head jigs. Okay? So do we need all the colors? I don't think so. So if you're good with the jig, you know where to put it, all right? You're able to work it, change up the action. Even if you're jig fishing, I want you to drag it Reel, stop, reel, stop, reel, stop. I want you to lift, drop, lift, drop. Okay, I want you to pop it every once in a while, all right? I think that will catch more fish than anything else, all right? Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about, this good friend of mine, John Green, painted this picture. And when he got done with it, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it is just, how many of you fish at night? Anybody any night fishermen in here? You bet. I mean, when that moon's up there, and it's a nice, beautiful night, you're catching walleye after walleye after walleye. I mean, there's something magical about that moment, you know, and he captured that moment in a painting, right? I've got some prints here today. It just happens to be my lung boat, and, you know, and I'm in the front and Charlotte's in the back. So, but you can't hardly tell. I'll sign it if you want. But I've got some prints here.